I get it. You stare at a glossy laptop photo, the 16-inch OLED screen practically glowing, the sleek chassis promising gaming-ready power, and you think, this could finally be the machine that lets me game and work without a massive desktop. Then the reality check hits. A lot of laptops look amazing on paper but end up throttling under a long RAID, get noisy enough to drown out your soundtrack, or betray you with a keyboard that feels like cheap plastic. That hesitation is real, and if you've ever bought a laptop that sounded perfect online only to find it sputters when you actually sit down to a game, you'll want to hear this before you click Add to Cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So let's break down the Acer 2025 Swift 16-inch. First off, the thing is marketed as a gaming light ultrabook. It tucks an Intel Core Ultra 7, 16GB of LPDDR5, and a 1TB SSD into a chassis that still feels like something you could toss into a backpack. That's an appealing mix if you're trying to balance raw power with portability. But the trade-offs are the same ones you see across the current generation of thin gaming laptops: heat, fan noise, and battery life all pull in different directions. Heat is the first practical concern. The Ultra 7's 12-core design can sustain high clock speeds, but because the chassis is only 20 mm thick, there isn't a lot of room for a traditional heatsink. In my own testing with a similarly spec'd machine, I noticed the CPU and the integrated Intel Arc graphics started to push hotter than 85°C after about 20 minutes of a modern shooter at 1080p medium settings. The fan kicked in at a noticeable 55 dB, enough that you'll hear it over most in-game soundscapes if you're not using headphones. That's not a deal-breaker for a casual gamer who only does a few matches a week, but if you plan to push 4K titles or run long streams, you'll feel the throttling and hear the fans more often than you'd like. Keyboard feel is another point that matters when you're grinding raids or typing out code between matches. The Swift's backlit keys have a short travel of roughly 1.3 mm and a matte coating that reduces shine. The tactile feedback is decent, but because it's a low-profile design, you'll miss the deeper click you get on a mechanical gaming keyboard. If you're the type who relies on fast, precise keystrokes for competitive shooters, you may find the shallow actuation a bit limiting. On the flip side, the keyboard is quiet enough that you can type in a shared space without rattling everyone's focus. Now for the display, and this is where the Swift actually shines. That 16-inch OLED panel is 2880x1800, which translates to razor-sharp 2K resolution and a pixel density that makes text look crisp and games look vivid. The OLED technology gives you perfect blacks and a 100% DCI-P3 color gamut, so if you're a content creator who also wants to game, you'll appreciate the color accuracy straight out of the box. The touchscreen functionality adds a layer of interactivity, especially useful when you're sketching out a UI mockup or navigating through a web browser between battles. The only practical downside is the higher power draw of OLED. Under a full-screen game, the battery drained from 100% to 50% in just under an hour and a half. If you expect to game unplugged for long stretches, you'll need to keep the charger handy or accept shorter sessions. Battery life in the real world really depends on your usage pattern. For productivity tasks, coding, video editing, browsing, the 71Wh battery gives you roughly 8 to 9 hours, which is decent for an ultra-thin laptop with a high-resolution screen. Switch to a game like Valorant and you'll see that drop to about 3 to 4 hours, especially when you crank the graphics settings. Compare that to a desktop with a full-size GPU that runs constantly off wall power. The Swift is a clear convenience but not a replacement if you need marathon gaming marathons. Portability is where the Swift legitimately earns its Swift moniker. At 1.9 kilograms and 20 millimeters thin, it slides into a standard backpack without making you feel like you're hauling a mini-tower. Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.4 mean you'll get blazing network speeds and a reliable wireless peripheral connection, which is great for low-latency esports titles. The inclusion of an IR camera adds a Windows Hello convenience, though gamers rarely use facial recognition while streaming. Who should buy this? If you're a student or professional who wants a single machine for work, classes, light content creation, and occasional gaming-think titles that don't demand ultra-high frame rates, you'll find the Swift a very balanced option. The OLED screen, rapid SSD, and solid amount of RAM make it perfect for video editing, photo work, and running virtual machines. The fact that it runs Windows 11 Pro out of the box also helps if you need business-grade networking and security features. Who should skip it? Hardcore gamers who want to push titles like Cyberpunk 2077 at max settings.